What's up? What's up? What is up? And welcome to the Dr. Ali Griffith Show, Mindset, Meditation, and Motivation. You know what I'm going to say? We're in for a special treat. I think I say that every week. This week, we are going to be speaking about empathy and autism and through the journey. I have an amazing guest today. She's actually one of special ladies that I have the opportunity of working with throughout the year. I'm super proud of her, watching her journey through being an amazing professional and watching her butterfly wings open up to now being such a huge advocate and proponent and noisemaker out there. She's now an author of a bestseller, The Clouds That Chase Us. Her name is Amanda Irtz. I'm sorry, The Clouds That Chase Us, A Journey into Autism. I got to make sure I have the second part. I want you to know the subtitle. Before entering into school leadership, Amanda taught middle, high school, and graduate levels in the content areas of writing, English, literature, and teaching. She's dedicated to creating a more empathic, and please forgive me, I am Caribbean, so sometimes we say it with a different pronunciation, but empathic approach to understanding, interacting, and connecting with individuals on the autism spectrum. Amanda resides in Lakewood, Colorado with her amazing family. And I can't wait for you to read her book because you get to hear all about her darling daughter and her amazing son and their really, really cool dog. So welcome without any further delay, none other than Miss Amanda Irtz. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks, Dr. Ali. I appreciate it.
So we're going to go into what made you decide to write a book and why would you title it Clouds That Chase Us, that Chases Us?
So the book is a compilation of a lot of my blog posts from my blog, autismaptitude.com. And this was my way of sharing with the world my understanding of my son's journey growing into the beautiful boy that he is, and my daughter's journey of being a neurotypical kiddo, living and interacting and loving a brother who is very unique. And as soon as I started posting blogs, I started getting requests from people to put these into something more formal, like a book or a memoir or something. And I kind of put it off because that seemed very daunting to me. And then I decided that I needed to share my story because there are so many parts of autism that are stigmatized and have this negative personification about them. And I don't think that that is how we need to be thinking about it and talking about it. And because when we do that, that's the same energy we use when we're interacting with anyone who's on the spectrum. I think that our individuals on the autism spectrum are unique and they're beautiful and they're bright and brilliant. And there are so many things that we can learn from them about life and about ourselves. And so this is my contribution to the world, to share another perspective and another lens about autism spectrum disorder.
Wow. When I think about the clouds that chase us, and I'm just going to be so literal about it, I'm thinking about, being outside and looking up and just watching the clouds coming behind us and just kind of enveloping us around us, just being around us where I kind of get caught up watching clouds. So where did that title come from and how does that relate to autism?
Well, this comes from one of my chapters that's actually titled The Clouds That Chase Us, and it's about a car ride, a very typical commonplace car ride that we had one day after school where I picked up the kids as usual and we're headed back home to, have our nighttime routine. And as usual, my son wants to talk about his day and he wants to ask questions, and everything in the car and around him is something to look at or something to investigate or to be curious about. And so he is a very sensory seeking individual, and that's how he interacts with the world. My daughter is a huge extrovert, and she exerts all of her energy during the day. And then at the end of the day, she's kind of pooped. And to be quite honest, she needs a little bit of quiet downtime. And that is really hard in our car because the dynamics of my children are often not aligned. They're often, one is at one extreme and the other is at the other. And so in this particular car ride, there was a lot of commotion. My daughter had to put on her noise canceling headphones. She got out her coloring book to start coloring. My son was feeling overwhelmed. And then all of a sudden, he started to look out at the clouds in the sky, and everything else, all the turmoil, all the chaos in the car left him. And he was able to look at the clouds, and he asked me, why are the clouds chasing us? And his mind just totally transformed, and he was able to focus solely on something so beautiful. And it was actually a very calming effect. And it made me realize that I sometimes don't take the time to even look at the clouds or to notice that the clouds are following me, because I get so caught up in my day-to-day of being a mom and an assistant principal and a chauffeur and whatever else it is that I am doing that day. I wear that hat with pride, and I get it all done, but I forget that sometimes the clouds are chasing us, and they're kind of fun clouds.
Wow. It takes me back to Zachary, and you guys, my listeners out there, please make sure you like and invite others into this conversation and share it out. It reminds me of when I used to take Zachary for drives, and he would just sit down and look out the window and stare at the leaves. Like, he would be so caught up in the leaves. And I would be like, what are you looking at? And he would have a story about it, or he'd be so caught, in the whirl of it, that it was mesmerizing just to watch him. And when you say that, it reminds us of, the times that we're in right now, where we cannot go out as often, and we're all kind of in the house. During the time of this recording, it's during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are all indoors. Yet we are indoors now, and finally at a stage where we can stop moving or slow down, that we can actually see the little beautiful things around us. So it's almost like if we're now in their world, if you kind of think about it that way, right? Because they pretty much have been home. Even though they're out, they're isolated, and they're often to themselves, or they have such a unique perspective, and they're able to stop and smell the roses and see things that we often miss. And we are all now at this slower pace where we're kind of in their world. So how interesting that is. Something else you mentioned is the fact that we often wear many hats. All right, so we're during this pandemic, and most of our parents out there, whether they're with children with special needs and or not, we are dealing with that concept of wearing many hats. How are you dealing with wearing many hats in your home, and any words of advice to help us out?
It is a great question. And I actually wrote a blog post about this today because honestly, it has been tough. I'm not going to lie that with all of the tricks and the tools that I have in my own professional hat that I should be able to pull out and magically make work for my own children, it hasn't worked. There have been temper tantrums and, hours of crying and days when we couldn't get any learning done or work on my behalf. There have been days when not only are we quarantined at home, but we've been snowed in because of the weather. It hasn't been easy. I'm not going to lie. There's been days that I've wanted to also have a temper tantrum and a meltdown and kick and scream, just like my own children do. However, I have learned, obviously, as an adult, that those often are not the right responses. I know, go me. I've learned a little bit, but instead, I've had to, tell my children, I am really frustrated right now. I need to go for a walk, or I am feeling really out of sorts because nothing seems to be working and I'm getting nothing done, and you guys are not focused on your learning at all. I need to go find our dog Aussie and pet her. So trying to become very transparent with my kids about how I'm feeling and what I'm going to do to alleviate that feeling, because we're in this together. Whether they like it or not, we are in this together. And that the very least I can do for them is model what a healthy response might look like to a circumstance we cannot control.
Love it.
Yeah. And
Love
I've had
it.
to tell myself, I've had to give myself a little more grace. I give everyone else grace, and my colleagues professionally, my family, giving them grace all over the place, but I haven't given myself any grace to miss a meeting, to not have something to say, to be slightly, off kilter. And it's okay.
I love it. What I love about doing this interview series right now is that I have grown from listening and interviewing 9 different autism mom, and I call them super moms, right? All mompreneur, because they're all mompreneurs actually. And what the common thread that we're all saying is that, to take that break, to take that time out, that we're noticing that we are all, our energy levels and our stress levels at times, it goes up and down and it wavers with the children. And they're entitled their moments when they have that too. So this being in close quarters, we're getting to see more about personalities. Now, what I love that you mentioned today that was different than any other interviews I said was that I had throughout the series was the transparency part. The transparency part of letting them know, listen, mom is frustrated right now. Like right now, mom is not happy with what's going on and I need to take a break. And modeling to them how to respond to times when they're frustrated so that when they're frustrated, they can say, mom, because Zachary does this to me all the time. I'm like, everything you guys see or listen to out there, this is how our household is. Like Zachary stops and he does meditation when he wants to calm himself. And he has his moments of breakdown and we look at each other because we've been communicating since the beginning of time. We can talk things out. So the process you're saying of letting them know, letting them into what's going on emotional, giving it words so they can use it later on when they can't fully explain what's going on. They can remember your words and they love to throw them back exactly at you when you didn't expect it. You're like, oh, shucks, I gave that to you, didn't I? And to know that we're all in this together. Like they need to know that, listen, we're a team. It's you and I, it's the household right now. We are one. So we got to figure this out, whichever way that's going to make it work. So definitely great tips that I hope you guys heard it out there. We always ask this question. You were sent here for a reason, meaning to be on this podcast, to be on this YouTube version. For those who are watching us, please make sure you go follow us on YouTube if you're listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you follow us on our podcast channels, all at the Dr. Ali Griffith Show. Please let me know, why do you think, and these are sound bites, so give me a sound bite of why do you think you were sent here today for whoever's listening out there? Like what message? You were sent here to give them a message. And I didn't plan them. I never plan you guys on this. I don't tell you that I'm going to ask this question. So I love it when I just get impromptu things. What do you think you were sent to deliver to our listeners out there?
My message is the same every time. It's to create a more empathic approach to understanding autism. That's
And what does that mean to you? What does empathic look like to you in your world?
It's the empathy side of the human being. And it's that we may never understand what it feels like or looks like to be an individual on the autism spectrum, and vice versa. They will never understand the way we view the world either. But it's coming from that place of acceptance and compassion and wanting to understand. And it's coming from a place of non-judgment where things happen, but they're happening. And it's not necessarily good or bad or right or wrong, but they're happening. And that is the empathic side that we as a society and as human beings in this world have to really start to understand that we are all unique. And
Very true.
we cannot expect an individual on the spectrum to strive to become a neurotypical individual who wants to be social, who wants to interact with the world the way that we interact. That is not what we should have. And in fact, we should be open and accepting to the world that they are creating for themselves, and be honored when they invite us into it.
Thank you so very much. During the time of this taping, we're dealing with the changes of the world. And really, I think we're truly getting a different perspective of acceptance, and that we all have really unique tendencies and unique things about us. And this whole concept of normal is so not normal. And I wish we could more hear about that and speak more about that on all platforms. Amanda has out now her book, and she's going to be having an amazing companion guide and a really great series, a video series that's going to be attached to her book in time. Look out for some amazing things from Amanda, just spreading the word of empathy, letting those know out there that, there's more than what you see, and to be open to receiving why and how you can really fill into their worlds instead of us trying to make them fill into our world. So thank you so much. I loved reading your book. Thank you for the honor of allowing me to be part of that process. Yes, she has it up. It's right in front of her. Go and get it. Make sure you do support it. Spread it out to others. If I didn't mention it before, I am Amanda's coach. We have done some coaching together, and I'm super proud of her. Just the growth and just what a powerful noisemaker you are with Autism Aptitude and all these amazing forums where you can capture. So all of her links will be below. I want you to make sure that you follow her, share her information out. She's one of mine, so she comes Dr. Ali approved. And if you're here today, that means you're approving. So definitely make sure that you give her some love. This has been a phenomenal, phenomenal experience, just opening up the airwaves to you hearing more about our perspective, and for all the parents out there that are going through it to understand they're not alone. I was given a message to just deliver this to you. So it's not perfect. It's just the way we are, and it's just the really last minute project I put together for no other purpose than for you just having a source of something positive and informational and feels good inside of you, besides all the other crap that we have listening out there. So I just wanted to make sure you had some of that. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And as always, I like to say, continue to be amazing in all that you do, in your words, in your thoughts, and in your deeds. Until then, until the next time, make sure you pass it out, leave us a review, and until then, stay safe. Peace.